I'll discuss Pathfinder problem where you have two cones which are pressing against each other uniformly, and one cone is being rotated at constant angular velocity. We have to find what will be the steady state angular velocity of this second cone. No dimension, nothing is given in this problem. Only this much of information is there. Of course, there is friction between these two cones. If there is no friction, this cone cannot be made to rotate. So it will acquire acceleration because of the forces which are acting on it, which are due to the friction between the two surfaces. Now in such problems, just try to imagine what could be the approach to solve such problems. You can't solve such problems by conservation of angular momentum. That is ruled out because it is being rotated at constant omega, means there is a torque being given to it or power being given to it. So it is interacting, the system is interacting with the external environment in terms of torque, not only exchange of energy but also forces are coming from outside. So angular momentum conservation is ruled out. Now what could be the other approach? Now just think, this cone is being made to rotate by what? By this cone, but by what? By contact, but by what? Friction at the contact is the solution to this problem. Now take this line which is running all through the surface of the cone. So they will interact with each other along a line of contact. Instead of point, it's a line. It is not a surface. So if they are exerting uniform pressure all through, it is uniform. There is some deformation. Pressure will of course be there because though it's a line, but there will be some width. So some deformation happens when two rulers or two cones, they interact each other. I remember when we were doing engineering, I was designing the rollers for this HCL Xerox machines, and it was very interesting how the shape of the ruler, change of the shape of the ruler, we have to take into account. Anyway, so there is, just I recalled that past. So there is a strip which is running through. So instead of strip, you can take that the width of the strip is W and the length of this strip is, if this is the height of each cone is B and this angle is theta, all these are theta, theta, theta. So this is B upon cos theta. So this is the area of that strip which is looking like this. Some deformation is there, though you can also do it treating it as a line, even that you can do. So if there is a uniform pressure P, all through the pressure is P, is acting on both sides. So the force at any given strip, if I cut, now if I remove these unnecessary parts and redraw the diagram which is relevant, the diagram is like this, this. So if I take a distance, I hope camera is capturing. I always get doubtful when I go down the board. It is capturing, I hope. X is this length. I move, this is my reference. I move X away. So this remaining is B minus X. Same here, it is X. So it is B minus X. If I take a small strip here, so it's a truncated cone. I am concerned only with these two things which are, just forget the other part of the cone. So very flat kind of a cone having two radiuses are there. Now this is dx. This will be dx upon cos theta. So if the average pressure here is P, if all through the pressure is P, and what was this length coming as? This was total length was coming as B upon cos theta. This was the total area of the strip. And if I take only that within a strip, I take this small cut, which is dx upon cos theta. So forget the entire other part of the strip. Now I am concerned with this only. So this will have the area w dx upon cos theta is the area of this small strip which I am concerned. This strip means both the sides. Its length will be dx upon cos theta and width is anyway the deformation of the cone is w. If pressure is uniform all through, the force acting here on this part is w dx p upon cos theta. Force is pressure into area, pressure is uniform all through. So this is the force which is acting at this small point which has the width of dx upon cos theta, and you can say width or you can say length, whatever. So this is that small strip. This was w, deformation of the cone. Actually so many details are not required, but I am adding these details because idea is not to only solve this problem but to be prepared for solving such kind of problems where these concepts may be useful. I could have done it because many times I get comments that it can be done in seconds. So, but I don't want to just solve it. Now, my idea is to use this problem to discuss whatever concepts I can. So it becomes a more holistic kind of thing, not merely looking at this question. I look beyond the question. That is why I'm covering so many things. I could have avoided it. This can be done without doing these things. If I do it, I can do it just in 3-4 lines. But I don't want to do that. So, and this is dx. That strip I have taken, I have found the force. Now what is the frictional force? This is force, or you can say it's a reaction. If this, I see the 3-dimensional view of that strip. So this is the force which is acting, or I can say df, which because it is acting on the small part. I can say df, which is acting on the small part. Now this will lead to tangential force on both the cones because of friction, which will be mu times df. So now again look at the diagram. This was, I now draw this strip in an expanded view. So just these are the strips expanded, these are very small strips. So I draw it like this. And the lower one was smaller. Okay. It is like this. Like this. So the friction force which I am saying is tangential here. And if this is rotating, if I look from this side, it is rotating clockwise. Intuitively you can say the other one will rotate anti-clockwise, because at the point of contact the velocity of this will chase its velocity. In case of friction, the friction force acts when there is a relative velocity. This will give a velocity at a given point. At this point, point A lies on the upper cone, point B lies on the lower cone. Velocity of A is omega 1 times this R1. And here it is, mind you, R1 and R2 are different. R1 is here, this is R1, and this is R2. What is R1, R2? If I write this is theta, tan theta is R1 upon B minus X, just trigonometry. This is B minus X, this is R1, this is theta, and tan theta is also R2 upon X. So R1 is B minus X tan theta and R2 is X tan theta. So velocity VA is omega 1 B minus X tan theta, and velocity B is omega 2 R2, which is omega 2 X tan theta. Now whether VA is bigger or VB is bigger, that will determine the direction of the frictional force, which is again key to answering this problem. Friction force is guided by the velocity of the body which is driving another body, means relative velocity. If there are two bodies, this is A and this is B. If it is VA, it is VB. If VA is greater than VB, if VA is greater than VB, this body will be pulled back. If VB is greater than VA, this body will be pulled forward. So depending upon the relative velocity at this point, which one is bigger and which one is smaller will tell me whether the friction force here at this point, whether it is in this direction, if the point of the pen shows the direction of the force, whether on this cone. I am concerned only with the frictional force which is acting on this. It is equal and opposite, but I don't need to find out power given. So I am not concerned what is the force acting on it, what is the torque acting on it. I have to deal with the second cone. So the force acting on the second cone will be either in this direction or in this direction, depending whether this velocity is bigger or this velocity is bigger. As I said, just relate this. You can see from the starting point, this radius is much larger and this radius is much smaller. In fact, at this point, velocity A is there, but velocity B is almost zero. So as you move, velocity A falls, and as you move here, velocity B rises. Velocity at the point of contact of the 2 points which are on 2 different cones. So there is a point between 2 cones. There will be a situation where velocity will become same, where the friction force will be 0, just at a small point, and let that be x0. Don't confuse this x0 with this x was means any random value. At x0, both the relative velocity, there is no relative velocity. So up to this point, this cone gets a torque which moves it, which helps in maintaining its angular velocity, and beyond this point the torque is opposing its motion, if the motion is in this direction. Intuitively you can say. So when these two torques integral sum of the torque acting up to this part and the torque acting up to this part, when they balance each other, it will stop getting moving torque or the stopping torque which is trying to reduce its angular velocity. This will try to accelerate, this will try to deaccelerate. When these two cancel out each other and it has attained certain angular velocity, that angular velocity will remain steady because there are no other losses. So that is another key to solving this problem, means some of the torques which this body is getting because of this frictional force here matches with this. Another point to be noted, magnitude of frictional force is dependent only on this thrust, not on the what is the magnitude of difference of the velocity. Difference of the velocity only tells you the direction of the force, frictional force, but magnitude is independent. Magnitude of the frictional force is independent of the magnitude of the difference between the two velocities. That is very important to note. Now, once you know these concepts, let me proceed further. So this is the force at this point. So the torque which is acting at this point, can I remove all these? I don't need these now. Yes. So if I was looking here and this was x0 was the point where equilibrium is reached. I'll come to that. So x0 is a point. This will be b minus x0. Where the equilibrium is reached is x0. Now this is x, a general point. Torque at x is equal to this force w dx cos upon cos theta into p. Don't bother about these, all will cancel. Into the radius, into mu. Mu times I multiplied to get the frictional force. I multiply by the radius of this cone where you want the frictional force to act and produce the angular velocity. So I am bothered about the torque which is acting on cone 2. I am repeating, but I am repeating few things I am repeating many times so that I don't get questions in comments. It is not that I don't like that, but actually if you get questions after 6 months, it's very difficult to relate. Some videos I uploaded about 2 years back, and I get question now that at 4.35, what do you mean by that? So it's impossible to answer. So now I've decided that even if I repeat number of times in the lecture, but I try to address the point there itself, so that students should not be troubled. Okay, so this is the D torque. I have written D because this is at a because of the pressure which is acting on the small strip. Now this torque will have from 0 to x01 value, which is in one direction, should be equal to x0 to b, which is in opposite direction. That is what I explained. So this mu w upon cos theta into p is again same all through. I said uniform. What is the value of R2 is x tan theta dx. Again mu w p upon cos theta x tan theta dx. These are same, only thing is limits are changing. I could have done this minus this is equal to 0. The net torque up to one direction, up to one point it is in one direction, beyond another point it is in another direction because the relative velocities, as I explained, changed. I could have written it like this: to obtain the total net torque as 0. When net torque is 0, the angular acceleration is 0 and the velocity is steady state. Since it was 0, I just write it like this. It will give me the same value. So all these get cancelled because all these are not required. What you get is x dx. I could have written this straight away and solved it, but then the whole context would have been lost. So it is x square by 2, 0 to x0. If there is any calculation mistake, correct it. x0 to b. So if I rub this, sorry I have to rub because space is a big problem. So 2 I will cancel. So it is x0 square minus 0 is equal to b square minus x0 square. So it is x0 square is equal to b square upon 2. So x0 is b upon root 2. This relationship I have got. Now what happens at x0? At x0 your velocities are same. What were the velocity? VA was this R1 times omega 1 and VB was R2 times omega 2. What is R1 times omega 1? I again write VA is equal to, what is R1? B minus X omega 1 tan theta, and VB is X into omega 2 tan theta. Just equate that, because at this, at x0, when I put the value of x as x0, I get b minus x0 into omega 1 is equal to x0 omega 2. And what is the value of x0? x0 is b upon root 2. So I get b minus b upon root 2 omega 1 is b upon root 2 omega 2. So this should give me, sorry I have to again rub, this should give me root 2 minus 1 upon root 2 into b. Omega 1 is equal to b upon root 2 omega 2. This gets cancelled, this gets cancelled, so omega 2 is omega 1, root 2 minus 1 is the answer.